videotaping of these meetings and other meetings.
No, but there have been people in the meetings that took pictures at the inaugural meeting, for example, that would be governed by the same bylaw.
I guess the question would be the cost that is being imposed on people who have no interest in having this kind of...
It's the cost of doing business. It's the purpose of this board to set out policies that govern all kinds of things that happen at meetings.
If I may, Madam Chair, the cost is fairly small, it's a few $100s to get this meeting done. And this is something most public bodies, whether they're school districts, local governments, etc., are having to build into their policy network now because these requests keep coming, especially with the changing technologies. And therefore, it is prudent on us as a local government body to make sure that we have appropriate policies in place.
In the past, many years ago, we did have the press at meetings and they were recorded.
What if next meeting 10 people come in there and not tape it? There's no room for
It's fine, they're all governed by the same guidelines.
Well, the chances of that happening are very minute.
We'll deal with that if that happens. Yes.
I mentioned something about we're ahead, Niagara Lake is ahead of last year.
Yes.
In
In
what
terms
sense?
of the water level,
Higher or lower?
lower, yeah, 3 weeks
So
ahead.
we're behind.
Yeah.
The snowpack on the island is quite low this year.
Yeah.
You can't see her, but she wants to talk.
Okay,
Hi, I'm
Karen.
Karen Miller, live in Union Bay. In regards to the filming, I'd just like to say that I think it is a service to a lot of members in the Union Bay area when we cannot view meetings. And for example, at the AGM, I was unable to attend, and I saw what was videoed, and I was actually, it showed some of the true faces of some of the residents here.
do you have a question, Karen?
Yes, I agree that it should be videotaped for all people to see videos.
The next homeowners update, usually that comes with a water bill. Do you have an idea when the next one's coming through?
Well, there wasn't really anything to say this time, so they come out every 2 months with the water bill.
Well, just to preface that, because I was wondering, the follow-up question was the purchase of the property for the water treatment plant.
Yes,
Where is that at?
it's working through the process. We have nothing new.
So will we get a homeowners update or something when we come across it?
If we have something to say.
Okay, we just have to.
Yeah. Carol, other questions? Susan?
I got a couple, but I'll take my turn. At the inaugural meeting, you took away the committees, the 2 committees that were there. And so I was just wondering that in the past, each of the trustees has had a position or a committee that they were involved in, and it was someone the community could go to for that particular thing. So I was just wondering what positions or how you plan on including the new board trustees in the workings of the board now, since there's no designated areas for them.
The committees are struck based on the priorities of the board, and at the inaugural meeting, the board decided that the priorities were the new fire hall working group and the public works group, and that the other 2 really were quite redundant. In the past, when there have only been 2 committees, trustees were went to those committee meetings, and it's been practice for at least the last 6 years, where any trustee can go to any meeting.
Does it still, the committee meetings, can the general community go to them as well?
For the committee meeting, not for the working group.
For the committee meetings, like when you
Yes,
have...
the public works
Yeah.
meeting,
Yeah.
yes.
I have another question.
Well, it's
Yeah, I've been
somebody
waiting.
else. Okay, Dave,
I heard you refer to Peter Johnson, I believe of Staples McDonald.
yes.
Are they rehired as the UBID's lawyers?
They have never been unhired.
It was my understanding they were replaced by Mr. Kelleher.
No,
No?
no, Mr. Kelleher was engaged to deal specifically with the
Just the
Kensington agreement.
Just the agreement, okay.
Yes. Anything else? Susan?
Okay. I have a couple still. Given that the times have changed and what the outcome of, or the manner in which the AGM went, I was wondering that in future, could the election date be set later? And this allows people who have traveling through the winter to be home in time to participate in the AGM and the voting. And could the existing advance poll stay in place, but could the have a 4-hour window before the AGM where people can vote, and this would accommodate people who A, cannot sit through a long meeting but would like to cast their vote, and B, it allows people the option of whether or not they want to stay for the meeting or not. Because in the last 2 elections it's been really difficult and people have missed out on voting because of misinformation or the manner in which it was held.
We as a board have not talked about the AGM at this point. There are some requirements in terms of the window of time in which we are required to have the AGM. We will certainly be talking about that. I think that in my discussions with the board that was around then at the last meeting, there were some things that didn't go as smoothly as we had hoped, and I think that some of that is a function of the community interest and the numbers of people that have been turning out. It's different when you have an AGM and 20 people show up. It can be dealt with a lot less formally and rigidly. So we'll certainly be looking at that for next year. Mary?
Yes, I was wondering if one of the new trustees could give me some information on the piece of land that they think that KIP's going to provide the community at Musgrave and McLeod. Do you have any reports on that or exactly where the property is?
This is just a verbal observation, okay? We haven't had any meetings to sit down and talk about this yet.
Oh, but
hopefully we can work on this aspect.
well, I'm surprised because you stood up and said you brought the meeting to a halt because you said that the developer was willing to give this piece of land and you didn't want the board to go through with this other purchase.
That's correct. Yeah.
Well, but you don't have any. You don't even know where. Do you know where it is?
One
Mary?
question
Okay.
Haven't had a chance to discuss it with the board yet.
Wow.
Susan?
One last one, almost. With Trustee Webb moving and leaving the district, is it true that he can remain on the board for 1 year or until his term is up? And at the completion of his term, and is it true that once he has physically moved out of the district, that he may be on the board but he no longer has a vote?
No. The only way that a trustee can be removed is through an election or they resign.
Not
The fact that he will no longer live in the community does not affect his ability to serve out his entire term.
But and I'm
As
asking
a voting member
as a
of
vote.
the
Okay,
board.
all right.
Yes. Other questions? Oh, no.
Just going back to Susan and what her presentation or conversation with regard to the AGM and the voting practices, is there a deadline that a motion or something that has to be presented to the board for it to be incorporated for the next voting opportunity?
Topics for the agenda are submitted to the administrator, and then between the administrator and the chair, a decision is made on whether it gets put on the agenda or not. Issues don't come from the public unless it's a, what do you call it? You make a presentation to the board, so anyone can make a delegation to the board. But topics for the board to deal with are not identified by the public. That comes through the trustees. Once the board agenda is set, which is 3 or 4 days before the meeting, anything else that gets added to the agenda has to be added at the meeting through a vote of the board.
One last. Why are we on stage 1 already?
Because it's on May 1st.
Is
we
it
go to
an
stage one
automatic thing?
automatically.
Yeah, oh, okay. I thought it
Yes.
was according to the water.
No, if I may, it's part of our water conservation bylaw, so it's mandated that as of May 1st, it's automatically put into stage 1.
One more question? I can't see you back there. You're too little.
I have a question. What happened to the sign, I think it was posted down by the marina that said, I'm not sure if it said the water restrictions or the fire
It's a
hazard?
fire hazard sign.
Okay.
Somebody ran over it.
Oh,
Kevin can answer.
That is correct, yes. Last spring or summer, I believe, somebody inadvertently took it out with their vehicle. I have talked to the Ministry of Forests on a couple of occasions. I'm not sure what their plans on replacing it are. If they do end up replacing it, it's unlikely we would get a sign back with a gauge, because the ministry doesn't have the staff to be going around and changing these gauges. So what we always try to do then is, we're on our website, on the door, by whatever means we can, we certainly advise people to check BC Wildfire for the latest conditions, and that's really become the go-to place, is that will tell you what the kind of the current restrictions are.
Dave?
Wouldn't this kind of information be appropriate in a landowner's update? If it
Yes.
wasn't
We can
sent out?
do.
Yes.
Well, this current ban didn't come out till well after that. I mean, it just came out Friday,
But it typically
but it
is.
typically is put in there.
Yes.
Yeah, a reminder about the water restrictions.
That was put on the water bill.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, just in regards to the AGM and the voting, is there any reason why we have to have a vote and AGM at the same time? Can we not separate the two?
We're not sure.
Okay,
We'll have to look at that.
good, thank you.
Yeah. Mary?
wasn't it this board or the previous board that brought in the advance vote?
Yes.
Poll? Like, we didn't even have that before. If you missed the meeting, you missed it, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, you know, how much can you accommodate people?
That's our right to vote.
Yeah, well then, if it's important, then, yeah, you can't address me, by the way.
Any other, last question? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you for coming.